afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Propagandacast Addendum with me, your host, Imperial Dane, covering here today a bit of a topic, of course, I've been asked about a bit again. What do I think of the upcoming December patch? Of course, obviously, this is only just the early part I can talk about here. Obviously, there'll be sort of more fun of it so once it's all finalized. But initially, my impressions are largely positive. Rifle Company, which has really been a bit too good, is getting toned down. Riflemen are losing sort of elite rifleman training set. They get sort of fire up, which is sort of like a sprint except with a backside, so that does mean it's a bit more sort of sensible. Also means the riflemen aren't quite as potent. Rear echelons get the flamethrower instead of the rifleman. That's also a bonus. And rifleman veterancy 3 is slightly sort of made a bit more difficult to achieve. There's also there's slight changes here and there. Apparently pack houses and the light infantry gun now lose the suppression, which rather means they're going to be a lot more cumbersome, and they might then have to buff the pack house and the light infantry gun in other ways now, otherwise they're going to be a bit too useless. Or something like that. I know they might revert that suppression thing. So there's something there to consider. For the Wehrmacht, we got sort of initially changes to close air support, changes source from no longer they can just press a button and so in gets will redistribute resources going. Instead they have to sort of do a supply drop like the Luftwaffe support doctrine, so that should be a bit more interesting. Now they'll just press a button, cheesy. That I suppose has some benefits as well. Elite troops loses troop training, gains stormtroopers instead. Personally quite happy about that one. Stormtroopers are always fun. So that should be more fun. They just need to sort of sort out the Stormtrooper veterancy a bit. Otherwise, that looks rather positive. I suppose if they want to be really cheeky, they could replace the Tiger Race with the King Tiger. But that might be a bit much. The Tiger Race is with the King Tiger. So, what else is there sort of really to note? I mean, bridges, sort of some slight changes here and there. Nothing really noteworthy as per se. Again, I don't think there's much needed there. And we have the Soviets, slight change to the Soviet industry. Bit weird though, they changed the Soviet industry ability like that, with just replacing it with a fuel drop. I'm not entirely sure I'm keen on that, but I suppose they do buff the K return, of course, now it's overall just easier accessible. So, I mean, that could work out. I mean, let's not just, throw that one out. It could work out, but a bit more skeptical about it, and I imagine there'll be more changes to the Soviets done. Now, of course, we then have the big topic, the Orbital Command West. That's already the one that's sort of getting all the changes. Units are being shifted around, units are being either buffed or changed in purpose, plus of course they lose the fuel and munitions inhibitors. Basically now get the same fuel amount of munitions as the other factions. They don't have any caches though, but they do have the same. And again, they still have the Storm Pioneers who are now cheaper. Their Fultz Grenadiers now cost more, but they also do pack a bit more of a punch. I do think they need to move the Panzer away from the Fultz Grenadiers or something, otherwise it might still be a bit, too good and a bit too sparingly, even if they make the Fultz Grenadiers of course a bit more expensive. But overall it does change the Orbital Command West. Early game it makes them more fluid, more aggressive. And that's reliant on just setting up a battle group headquarters. So that does make the Orbital Command West a lot more interesting. Plus, there's actually more reason now to go for the Mechanized Regiment because, well, I mean, you do have the fuel to sort of properly utilize it. Plus, they've added in the looks there, which of course also is a bit of an issue. I mean, they need to sort of balance that out a bit more. Probably need to sort out the Orbital Command West teching. That's probably one of the bigger issues right now. But overall, having played it a bit, I mean, overall, it feels better than the old Orbital Command West. It flows better than the old Orbital Command West. I'm not saying it's perfect. It needs a lot more work. But it does feel a lot better. It does feel a lot more interesting again in terms of like vehicle play. Now the Orbital Command West actually has something, to show for. Obviously, stuff like the Panther, the Panzer IV, and such needs some more work. Yak Panzer is now in the same tier as those two, which rather puts in an awkward position, almost the same price as a Panther, but a lot less capability, which just makes the Yak Panzer IV even less useful, really. I mean, they're going to need to do something about that. Either they decide it can sort of serve as an assault gun, or they need to buff it a lot and perhaps increase its price as well. Otherwise, it's just sort of, why would you get that over a Panzer IV or a Panther when in particular they're right next to each other? So that is going to have some problems there. Looks certainly also a bit there. My suggestion would be, implement Panzer Elite stuff, which is basically, they had a lot of sort of upgrades they had to do to access certain units. If they could do that, I think the Orbital Command West then will sort of be a bit more sort of better sort of paced, if you will, and could thusly work a lot better. And particularly, they also move the Panther, so to say, the Storm Pioneers. But overall, again, it looks positive. Again, now all the units feel they have a bit more, actual purpose. Plus, the munitions isn't so bad either, which might also make certain doctrines more viable. They still need to buff the Flamheads, but beyond that, I mean, it's looking pretty good, and initially it's starting to look like, the Orbital Command West isn't just going to be an infantry spam faction anymore, which is also, a big fat positive. Flak half-tracks have now been moved over to the Battle Group headquarters as well, which also means they're a bit more accessible, say, the other mechanised vehicles, since Battle Group headquarters is slightly cheaper. And thusly, you might actually consider using flak half-tracks a bit more, and, get more than one perhaps, Try out some different things there. Again, it does open up a few more paths as the Oberkommando. So again, initial impressions are positive. Obviously, there's a lot more testing, a lot more playing that needs to do, and I'm sure there'll be more changes, and a lot more changes are needed. But overall, I'm kind of liking it. I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm liking the direction. I mean, the new Kubelwagen does more damage, is more mobile, can capture territory. I mean, that leads to some overall a lot more interesting tactics. Certainly, people are going to have to react to it, but, considering how many of the Allies, how easily the Allies can sort of get out anti-tank weapons to deal with that kind of stuff, it's not too bad. But, it's there, it's good, it's fun. So again, cautiously optimistic. Again, some stuff we'll need looking into. Seriously, looks, pacing. Yak Panzerforce going to need something, that's for sure. Maybe throw on a machine gun, maybe give it some high explosive shells, just something so it has a bit more either broadness, or it just needs to be actually perform well versus Allied armor. Otherwise, it's just going to be terrible still, just at a later tier, which isn't really improving the situation in the slightest. But I mean, overall, Mechanized Regiment benefits greatly from it. Overall, it just feels like a more fun faction. I think it will also be a more fun faction to play against. Ultimately, if they keep up sort of the current directions, again, positive about it. I mean, obviously, we're going to have to see more, what they'll do further, and again, I mean, it's good. Plus, of course, we get 2 new commanders, Oberkommando West for something that looks like an old Wehrmacht defensive. You sort of get Goliaths, a lot of far sight, but you get For the Fatherland, and you sort of get Luftwaffe ability that looks like it hit a sector specifically. Not sure about that one. Could be good though. And then the US gets Calliopes, Bren guns, a half that can just call in, and some other bits there, plus a strafing run, so I suppose that gives the Americans a bit more air support. So, I mean, there's a lot there to go with. Overall. But overall, again, I am positive about the patch. Again, we'll have to see further down the road, but so far I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm willing to say this is actually looking good, and this might actually be a good direction for the Oberkommando West. So, I think that rather covers it for now. I won't be making a video for every single update. I mean, if there's something huge further down the road, I will, but I'll probably expect another video sort of once the patch has been finalized sometime early December, and also further talk about it with my thoughts on where it could sort of go. But again, so far, 1 thumb up. Not 2, but 1. So thank you all for joining in. Hopefully this has been, satisfactory for you that sort of wish to know more of my thoughts on the subject matter. And if it did, feel free to subscribe, tell your friends, share it with everyone. This is Imperial Link. Cheers, and thank you all for watching. Bye.